So normally when I start talking about the history of jazz, I would start with about 1865, the Emancipation Proclamation, and freedom of former slaves, and that freedom launching itself into a jubilation that created the blues and other music, ragtime, etc., that led to the creation of jazz. Recent research has revealed that there may have been something equally as important to instrumental jazz, especially at the beginning of the Civil War, going back to as far as 1861. You see, immediately, 1861, the Union Army wanted to recruit black troops. And the white commanders who control those colored regiments decided, well, colored or black or Negro or whatever they were characterized in those days, colored is what was the official term. They decided that they needed to have bands for these colored regiments. You see, at this point in time, new and improved brass instruments were available to all service bands. So it was just a matter of procuring instruments and procuring instruction for these new black recruits in order to form bands of between 9, 12, maybe 15 pieces as a ceremonial band for each of the colored regiments. That took place at the beginning of the Civil War. Lots of bands, lots of new brass instruments, and top-of-the-line instruction from military musicians. This created a brass band tradition throughout the Civil War. It helped the Union Army in its recruiting of black soldiers. We love our music, always have, always will. And when you've got a regiment coming through and then you've got a ceremonial band making a joyful noise behind them, you get people excited, and you know what? People sign up. Matter of fact, 185,000 black men signed up for these colored regiments. And as I said, each one had its own band. These bands toured, did parades, did official ceremonies, etc. When the war ended, these musicians remained musicians. And some of them used their talents by staying in the military and operating as military bands in the Spanish-American War, and later, and others left and started performing in the independent commercial events such as minstrel shows and traveling medicine shows and things of that sort. And these early brass bands that came from the Civil War regimental bands eventually morphed into what we see today as the New Orleans street bands, which is a direct link to jazz and the beginning of jazz in New Orleans. Now, since these black regiments were all over the country, of course, New Orleans was a big hub. Between 1860 and 1880, population doubled. But you need to know that these black regiments were all over, and we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about some of the socioeconomic influences that led this music to grow, and the military band experiment to have such a profound influence on the growth and development of this wonderful music we love that we call jazz. I hope this has been informative for you and inspirational as well.